Welcome back to Women's Wellness Authority. I am your host, Diana Ruszkowski, and today's episode, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I am actually the guest. I wanted to do some personal reflection on early motherhood and talk about the importance of community around that time in your life and really how the right kind of support can really change and transform that experience. So I've been doing a lot of reflection on that time in my life and what things made a huge difference, what things I wish I could do differently. And I feel like motherhood is often described as something really beautiful. 100% is, but it's also identity shifting. It can be disorienting at the same time of being beautiful and transformational. And as I think about it, I feel like no one really fully prepared me for all the changes that were to come, all the attention that was shifted. You can take the birthing classes and learn about breastfeeding, but those are the things that are skills, in my opinion. And nobody really talks about all the other stuff that you have to navigate when you become a new mom. So today I really want to talk about what my experience was like and talk about how community shaped my early motherhood experiences and why, I think that no mother should ever have to do that alone. I'm really, really passionate about this. In fact, that I am building a portion of my business for Women's Wellness Authority to focus specifically on supporting pregnant and postpartum women. So if you are in this season, preparing to enter this season, or if you love somebody who is, this episode is for you. So come join us.
Women's Wellness Authority is a podcast for women who want to come home to themselves, physically, emotionally, and energetically, while exploring grounded, root-level approaches to healing. In each episode, we explore the many layers of wellness through thoughtful conversations with experts, healers, and practitioners, helping you better understand what your body is communicating. This podcast is about empowerment, offering practical tools and wisdom to help you thrive in all areas of your life. Let's rewrite the rules of wellness together, step into your power, reclaim your health, and discover what it means to truly thrive from the inside out.
Okay, everyone. So I want to talk about my internal shift to motherhood, what my experience was like. And I think it's important to share this, and I'm going to be really open because I feel like it's really important to understand where I'm coming from. And I'm hoping that by being so open and honest, there might be other people out there who are listening that might feel the same way. So don't feel alone in how you're feeling or what you're experiencing. And also, just to give you a better sense of who I am and what my journey's been, I think becoming a mother is a very big life-changing experience or transition in a woman's life. And for me, when I have been doing all this reflection, there are so many things I wish I would have known then that I do know now. But there were also really critical things that were my life support, that were my community. And I want to be able to create that level of support for others, just like those members of my community were there for me. So share those things, but know that motherhood for me was both grounding and also destabilizing. I wasn't really fully prepared for how it was going to shift my identity. I actually was determined to remain the same exact person, the same exact wife, friend, colleague, and then just have this baby. And I wish somebody would have prepared how different you become and how, if you fully embrace that, it could be a beautiful thing. And I think I didn't fully embrace it because of my own internal pressures to try to be everything to everyone, to prove and show to myself that I can be a fantastic mom and still really work hard and climb that, corporate ladder and do really good at my job. And I think those pressures plus societal's pressures to do all of those things with a smile on your face and look like you've got it all together were, I think, for me, a recipe for disaster. And that's why, because of all those things, and also now I know nutrition and nervous system regulation, stress management, emotional support, those were all things that I didn't make a point to support myself in the first time around, and I suffered pretty bad from postpartum depression. I think it's because I was not realistic with myself and also kind to myself. I was really, really, really hard. And I wish I knew the things then that I know now. So I talked about nutrition. The second time when I had my second daughter, I was so fearful of losing myself again after I had my baby that I made a point to really sort of dig in and seek alternative ways to support my emotions and support my health. And so I did tons and tons of reading and education around the food I ate, the supplements I took, what my body's going to be needing more of, giving myself permission to eat all of these things, shifting how me and my husband ate. And as a result of that, I, definitely felt a lot stronger because when you're breastfeeding too, by the way, you're keeping another human alive, so you are already deficient. So it's so important to keep that tank fueled. And then I did tons of work, like how can I support my emotions? Which, by the way, for those who don't know, I was raised really with a holistic lens. So you get sick, you go to a chiropractor. You get sick, we would go to our homeopathic doctor or natural minded doctor, and she would give us supplements and herbs and flower essences and all the things to help us and nurture us back to health. So with my second pregnancy, I reignited and tapped back into how I was raised. So I really sought alternative ways to support my emotions. And that's where essential oils kind of came into play. And I learned a lot of different stuff about how plants can really support the body and support emotions. And I'm happy to say that, after the birth of my second child, because I was so hypersensitive and focused on those things, I was able to navigate things very, much differently. And I know so much more now with all of the nervous system regulation work I now do with the sound healing and the energy work, that there's so much I feel like I have to share with my local community. And I really think that the right support during this transition is so incredibly important because motherhood is beautiful. But it's like, if I'm going to use a corporate word, it's like a reorganization. You are the same person, but you are now living in this new world. And so it's how do you navigate that in the best way possible? And it's so important to have community. When I think about my experience being a first time mom, I oftentimes equate it to what I like to call the freshman year energy. When you're the freshman in college and you come in and you're like so excited, but like apprehensive, not sure what to expect. How do you make new friends? Like, am I the only one feeling this apprehension or excitement, but like don't know who to talk to? I equate that feeling to becoming a first time mom because it's the same feelings. Like I would go into classes and I'm like, that mom looks like she's got it put together. And in reality, we're all, whether you're a freshman, a new time mom, you're starting a new job, we are all feeling very similar. But for whatever reason, we don't choose to share our inner thoughts and our feelings to portray a certain stature, or I don't even know how you want to describe that, but I like to equate first time motherhood to that freshman year energy, right? So you're dropped into this new world as a new mom. You don't have a handbook. You don't know how to figure things out. You're going day by day. That baby changes. It's like you have one great day and the next day it's like everything changes. You're surrounded by all these new people, right? It's like opening a door to this whole entire new universe, but you're unsure how to connect. I remember going to all these classes and just admiring all the women around me and like wanting to connect, but too afraid to ask, or is this the right? Anyways, I just equate that whole experience to that freshman year energy because I felt the exact same way, obviously for different reasons. But ultimately, I just wanted to belong. I was a little freshman. I wanted my roommate to like me. I wanted to find new friends because I always heard college is the best thing. It's like, same thing with motherhood. I just wanted to belong. I just wanted to know others were on that same journey, that they maybe were experiencing some of the same things. And I had community, right? In proximity when I was a new mom, but I didn't always have the depth. I had some good friends who were going through the same thing. They were absolute lifesavers, and I had different pockets of community, which I kind of want to share. And those pockets of community really saved me. So I had a local business was a yoga center called Family Tree, and it's one of my very good friends now, Kimberly. And she was a lifesaver. I went to her for prenatal yoga. That was sort of like how I was introduced to her center. And then after I had my first, we would go to Mommy and Me classes and Mommy and Me yoga. I had my daughter's first birthday there. It was really like my safe haven. It was a place that I could physically go to. It was a place that got me out of the house. It got me in front of and around other people because sometimes when you first have a baby, you could feel really isolated. And that was wonderful. And also with my first daughter, I had a group of women at our pediatrician's office that we'd get together. I think it was once a week or once every other week. And that's where we had an opportunity because it was the same women, or at least there was a group of us that sort of formed out of that larger group that really connected, and we stayed pretty close. There was a blend of stay-at-home moms and women that were going back to work. So we did our best to kind of stay connected and went to our kids' first birthday parties. And even 10 years later, I still exchange Christmas cards with some of those women because it was a really, again, critical time and transition in our life. And those women were there for me and listened to what I was going through. And I did the same for them. And that experience really shifted my experience personally. And so when I take all of those things that I got, so that power of being in a circle with those close knit women from my pediatrician's office, which the second time around I didn't have. And I wish I did. I just had some close friends that I'd go on walks with, which is also wonderful and life saving. But what was huge for me was that I had that community. I had those circles of support. And I think when I look back and I think of the things maybe I wanted more of, it was more of that intimate conversation. It was more of peeking behind the curtain, getting a better sense of really how those individual women were feeling, but in a space like in the yoga space that we had, which was again, like just for me, I think about it and I smile. Like that place was so magical and so special to me. And I actually had an opportunity to come back a couple months ago. I went back up north and got to attend one of Family Tree, my friend Kimberly's yoga classes. And it just the music and it just took me back to a place and a time where I did feel so incredibly supported, and I was so grateful for her to give me the opportunity to sit and reflect even within her class a couple months ago, to walk away and say like, gosh, yes, this is what I want to do. I want to create this special sacred place in my local community within South Carolina. So it was that combination and a conversation really that reignited everything for me a couple months ago. I had a guest on this podcast, Mila Brady. She is the owner and founder of Nest and Nurture, which is based out of Florida. And it's a support group for women who are pregnant and going through postpartum. Again, right? Such a massive life transition. There's only a few times in a woman's life where they have this huge transition. I would say it's like pregnancy, postpartum, perimenopause, menopause. And we had a conversation about supporting pregnant women and postpartum women. And I left that conversation so fired up. And it really reignited this passion that I had always had. I absolutely loved what my friend Kimberly had created. It was so incredibly special. And I thought she always had this like magic potion, but I couldn't create that business there because she had it. But now I'm in a different community and I have her as a mentor, and I have Camila, who actually was one of the first caretakers of my daughter when I went to daycare. She was one of the first women who gave me a hug and told me everything was going to be okay and took care of my daughter like it was her own. These women are making such impacts in their local community, and I'm so incredibly inspired by them because of how they altered my experience, that those experiences stayed with me so much, and the impact that those experiences had just really made me start the gears turning, right? And when I think about what it is that I want to create, so I am going to be creating sort of a third pillar in my business, which is called Momma Collective. It's creating that safe space. It's creating that community for women to feel seen, to feel heard, right? Which is generally my mission for Women's Wellness Authority with the podcast, The Sound and Energy Collective is really to teach women how to better nurture their emotional and physical bodies through nervous system regulation. Like, if you can regulate your nervous system through breath, through sound, you can be a better person for yourself, and therefore it has a domino effect on how you show up for others around you. And so I wanted to create something that wasn't like a drop-in class, which was wonderful, but there was inconsistency in terms of the people that were in there. So it was hard to really connect. I don't want a group where it feels like therapy or just a casual coffee meetup, which are wonderful, but then it's one and done. I wanted to create something that was steady, repetitive, that people would feel safe to be able to let some of those walls down that I never get, in hopes that they can get the support and honesty that they deserve. So when I think about all these things, I kind of come away thinking there is nothing a new mom needs more than her circle. And when I think back to like hundreds and hundreds of years ago, when you think of that term, it takes a village. Well, it used to actually take a village. When a woman gave birth, her entire village of women surrounded her, nurtured her back to health, took care of her baby, and that she didn't do it alone. And things are obviously way different now. For those of you who have family nearby and have that support, that is absolutely wonderful. I did not have that for when both my kids were born. My mother lived in South Carolina, and it's just very common nowadays that you don't have a lot of family around, and we don't live in villages. A lot of us live in the suburbs. Houses are spread out. We're not in a community where you feel like you have access to people kind of coming around and supporting you. So I want to create this space where women feel like they can get supported when things are hard. They can get celebrated when things are great and when things are tough. And also a space where the woman feels seen. And they don't feel seen because they're a mother and they have a cute baby. It's because we are really seeing you. And so community doesn't have to be hard. And I think it's so important because it can change really how you carry yourself and navigate this time. So I've created what I'm calling the Momma Collective Foundations. And this is an 8-week, really small in-person support circle. We will meet weekly on Tuesdays from 10 to 11:15 in Clover, South Carolina. And we're going to be talking about a whole range of topics, right? We'll talk about emotional support during pregnancy and postpartum. This group, by the way, is for both pregnancy and postpartum women. We'll talk about the identity shifts that I talked about, nervous system regulation. I am a sound healer practitioner. And so I want to incorporate sound as a tool to teach people how easily it can be to regulate their nervous system, even if you only have a few minutes. And bonus, it will also benefit your baby. Talking about steadiness in this transition, talking about rest and boundaries, self-trust, talking about advocacy for yourself and for your child, talking about nourishment, right? That's a huge thing, nutrition for me. It made such a difference between my first postpartum experience and my second. We'll talk about physical recovery in postpartum, talking about feeding and our early postpartum support. So those are just a few of the ideas that I had, but I'm really, really excited and hope that this is the first of many different things that I will bring to my local community to support women in this season. So if you are in this season or you're preparing to be in this season, I'd love to welcome you. And if you're not, but you know someone who is, please feel free to pass this along. So I thank you for being here with me on Women's Wellness Authority. If this conversation resonated with you, like I said, please share it with a new mom. Please share it with a friend or a family member who is expecting or is planning to conceive, because they might need to hear some of the messages that I shared today. So also, please follow the show on YouTube or your favorite podcasting platform. And by doing so, it really helps me continue to build this community. And I'm so grateful for every woman who chooses to be part of it. And if you have a moment, a review, a comment really helps this podcast reach other women and discover the space and feel supported. So until next time, stay curious, stay aligned, and most of all, stay well. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Women's Wellness Authority. If today's conversation inspired you, shifted your perspective, or sparked something within you, I'd be so grateful if you'd subscribe, leave a review, or share this episode with someone who might need it the most. Have a story of your own or something you'd like to share? I'd love to hear from you. You can connect with me on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at Women's Wellness Authority. Please note the content shared on this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider regarding your health and wellness decisions. Until next time, stay curious, stay empowered, and most of all, stay well. Thanks, everyone.